It connects to the, so Zoom up supports it.
Yes, we made the connections. At the moment, it's setting up the webinar for YouTube Live. Done.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yes.
It connects to the, so Zoom up supports it.
At the moment, you are live. On yes, we made the connections.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, it's setting up the webinar. Okay, good.
So it's with a delay a little bit.
So we are live, but let's wait for a couple of minutes so we can start.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you now?
Located in Switzerland.
Oh, nice. I'm in Delft, the Netherlands, and it's pretty cold and rainy here.
So now it's yeah, now it's like okay. Sometimes a bit of rain. No, it's okay weather. 25.
Oh, nice. Lucky you. It's 16 degrees here.
Oh, it's a bit cold, but you are much northern, so
yeah, it's well, the Netherlands.
Yeah. So
I see that people are attending. That's really good.
So the registered, when you said like was 100 or something, somebody said?
I checked in the morning. It was 112.
But it's through Zoom or through YouTube as well, or that one you cannot know,
no, it's
right?
only Zoom.
So we should wait a bit, I guess. Yeah. But probably not 100 will come. I expect like 50 probably.
Well, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
We shall see.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's actually good for first time, I think.
Yeah,
it's the first one, right?
Yes, it is the first time, and I'm also learning the webinar and Zoom, also live streaming to YouTube channel. Yeah, it was a lot of hassle, but the nice thing is we have already a couple of speakers lined up for June, July, August. I'm really happy about it. I think we will announce it shortly.
Yeah, you should mention that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I think yeah, it started well. I think it's thanks to you actually. So, yeah.
Well, also I got a lot of help from my IEEE, Jessica and Bill. They were really helpful. It's a team effort. Okay, it's 4 o'clock. Pavel, are you online? Pavel? It seems that I lost Pavel.
Yeah, I have this Deepfake stuff.
Okay, oops, we lost screen sharing. And I don't hear you.
Yeah, I went off for some reason. Yeah, I hope it's not going to happen too much, huh?
I hope so not. You're back. Shall I introduce you and we start our webinar?
Yeah, we can do it, yeah.
Okay, good day, everybody. Good afternoon from the Netherlands. My name is Zeki Erkin. I am organizing this webinar on behalf of IEEE Signal Processing Society, Information Forensics and Security Technical Committee. This is the first one I'm organizing, so we are also learning the infrastructure. So apologies if something happens during this talk or so, but we will have these webinars on a regular basis as much as possible to have distinguished speakers to talk about recent technical developments, scientific developments in information forensics and security. Our first speaker today is Dr. Pavel Korshunov. He received his PhD degree in 2011 from National University of Singapore, and then he moved as a postdoc to Switzerland at EPFL. And since 2015, he is working as a research associate at IDEAP Research Institute. I hope I'm calling it correctly.
Yeah.
And today his talk is very interesting. I can you see the title actually, Deepfakes Detection. I'm actually looking forward to it. Pavel, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for your time. The floor is yours. So we are also streaming on YouTube as well. It will be also recorded. Let me start recording as well. I forgot that. The floor is yours. So please tell us about your research.
So you can hear me okay, right?
I can hear you.
Very good. Yeah. So thank you for introduction. I work in EDAP Research Institute. So it's one part of it is we have like 150 people around there, and part of it is this biometric security and privacy group, which is kind of information forensics, you can say, but also biometrics and focus on biometrics. But we also do anti-spoofing in different modalities, and also that's part of this deepfake detection, also age detection, many other things, sensors, fingerprint detections and things like that. So originally, I should mention, originally I'm from Russia, so I apologize in advance for whatever is happening now. Not my fault. Most of my life now I spent outside, studied in Singapore for a long time and worked there a bit, and then came to Switzerland and stayed here for the last 11 years as postdoc first, and then as research associate, so it's kind of researcher at EDAP. And today, so I'm going to talk about this catchy title, Deepfakes Detection, Humans versus Machines. So the main, basically, there are two parts of this talk. So I will talk about some examples of deepfakes for those, what we mean by deepfakes and what type of deepfakes we consider, because there is a lot of now interpretations of what it means, because they're merging with different fields like morphing detection, for example, which are used for cross-border security, but they're not originally the idea of deepfakes that were there. So original idea of deepfakes were kind of videos where you swap face of one person with the face of another person to make the other person appear that she or he did something or said something that she or he did not, or behaved in certain way that actually didn't happen in reality. So that the original kind of, and that's what I will stick to. I'm not going to talk about images, generated images here that are also now treated as deepfakes when you have a whole image generated with GANs, like style gun and things like that. So I will give some examples. Then I'll present like a results of a subjective evaluation that we conducted. Basically, we used human subjects to ask them questions about which videos are fake, which ones are real, so which ones are deepfakes and which are real, and present the result of this evaluation. And then I will talk about machine part of it, is basically the algorithms that trained, that were aimed to detect deepfakes, different types of algorithms, and like this is the baselines, like a binary deepfake detectors, and how well they perform on this the same videos that used in subjective evaluation to compare actually with humans, which will bring us to generalization problem that basically models don't generalize very well, and what we can do about it, which is kind of a unsolved problem. So I will just present some solutions we tried, but there are other researchers that are trying different solutions to tackle this problem. In the footnotes of the slides, we'll have links to papers that basically this work, all of this was published one way or another in different places. So you can look at the bottom for the references if you need to look further. Also, we may share this website somehow online together with recording. So we are figuring it out. So for future references, if you need to. So first, some examples of what deepfake technology can be used for and how it's manifests itself in the current environments and society. So, which is like good, the bad, and the ugly. So, because I will play several videos, not the full ones, but just in advance, I'll tell you that basically the deepfakes can be used for something positive. For example, in the first video will be the Salvador Dali Museum, interactive museum, where they recreated basically Salvador Dali speaking to the audience, so that people, kids, and everybody visiting museum can interact with. And this Salvador Dali is actually created as deepfake on video because there is a lot of images available of Salvador Dali, so they could actually train the model. Of course, there is an actor behind it with the voice imitating in English, ironically, imitating Salvador Dali, but the face represents the Salvador Dali himself. Then the bad is the. Oh, you couldn't see my screen before, because it says the participant now can see my screen. I hope you could see the screen before, so I don't know if you write in the chat if there are issues.
I can see the slides. It's the deepfakes, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Is
okay, good. So yeah, so the bad is like the example that is used in political discourse. A lot of attacking videos happening during, like this example during Trump campaign when he was trying to get reelected, fighting with Biden. So this was the against Trump video, political video. But there are others. More and more examples appear. Not only deepfakes, of course, other different digital manipulations are used to present a political opponent in bad light, unfavorable light. But deepfakes are basically scaring people in a sense that it's harder to come to battle against. But deepfakes can be used in other ways like extortion of money, pretending to be somebody else, or blackmailing. Pornographic blackmailing is just one of the very ugly side of this technology, and that worries me the most, I would say, because this is actually can affect normal people. That is much harder for them to defend themselves and smear the image, personal image in society is very, very damaging, can be the technology. And the ugly is just the bad example of what deepfakes are. And also the bonus video is the deepfake that spoofed, that actually confused Justin Bieber, that the singer, that he believed it was a real person. So here's some videos, so 20 seconds of which or something.
Greetings. I am Salvador Felipe Jacinto Dali y Domenech, and I am back.
This is bad.
You blame me for interfering with your democracy.
Quite good quality, actually, this
but
one.
I don't have to. You're doing it to yourselves. Polling stations are closing. You don't know.
The ugly.
Dear people of Belgium, this is a huge deal.
This is badly
As
done
you
on
know,
purpose.
I had the balls to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement.
And this is the.
I do all my own stunts, obviously. I also do my own music. I've got a sweet spot for a couple of artists, and people are surprised that I'm a big Dave Matthews guy.
So the last one is a kind of famous account on Twitter that posts the videos of fake Tom Cruise. Very well done. There's a lot of manual work there. You should also understand this, that automated systems cannot produce this kind of quality. So this quality that look good, that actually in all these examples, like Salvador Dali, Putin, and this Tom Cruise video, they all require a lot of manual retouching later. So the way it works, the model is generated of a face. Then the face is usually swapped into, so there's like a box, the rectangle with the face is swapped inside the original face, original video. And then you need to have some kind of blending techniques applied to hide the artifacts and inconsistency in terms of lighting, different lighting and environment distortions and all this blurring around the edges. So you need to do some kind of, you can do automatically, but they are not usually very good. It's very hard to produce consistently good fakes automatically. So usually automatically is only the face itself is generated with expressions that match the intended target. So you can say that actor who's acting this video, and then the intended target, the face is generated mimicking the expression of original actor. and then placed it back, right? So the Tom Cruise is basically talking like real life Tom Cruise. Mouse is open, tested with the speech of the actor. So the audio, so all of the audios are not fake, not generated. It's the actor who's mimicking actually. So it's not, there's no full audiovisual deepfakes as far as I know, like of good quality, let's say. There is one database I know, but it's not very good yet. Yeah, so in this case, Tom Cruise, this video fooled Justin Bieber. He thought he's actually real Tom Cruise and tried to help him to learn music. So the guitar, so it's kind of funny. So this is just to give you example, and here's a table. Basically, this is like a set of data sets that are kind of popular and exist. There are others, but these are also the ones that we used in this. I used in these results that I'm going to present. All of them are used. So one of the most popular is face forensics. So first one is deepfake timid, is kind of generated in the beginning, is one of the smallest and the first. But then face forensics plus this is a large data set, quite large, well, relatively speaking. There's 1,000 videos in total, the original videos, which were then converted to deepfakes generated from that 1,000 videos. And there are extensions that just contain the fake versions, like hi-fi, face, and deeper forensics, which use the same original videos to generate, using the same pairs, swapping pairs to generate the deepfakes. So these extensions with Face Forensics Plus can be used together as different types of fakes, basically. And also part of this kind of separate set is from Google and Jigsaw, which is not using those YouTube videos, using their own videos and their own methods, kind of undisclosed for generating deepfakes, but it's interesting data set, and we use it separately as a separate data set in this case. SlapDF also used some YouTube videos and generated quite high quality of fakes, albeit lower resolution, not very high resolution, but quality-wise in terms of blending is quite good. DF Mobile is we generate also this available online. You can download it. It's a large data set of different types of videos in terms of like shot with smartphone and laptop and stuff, and generated about 15,000 videos in total, and 30K is the original ones. But there is no manual blending, so it's all automated. So it's kind of like a large data set just for training, and with one method, generate with one method. And from Facebook, this is the largest to date. Was competition, grand challenge, deepfake competition, and then with 500,000 prize 2020, and there are 100K videos, but they are, so this is the details actually of the set, 100K videos, but Facebook has only 20 original and 80,000 fakes, but they don't disclose what method were used to generate those. So it's actually quite hard to use it in a real, like for training and because there are some audio distortions too, as I claim. So it's a bit difficult data set to use for training or testing. Here, so I will show some examples of also these videos from Facebook data set that we selected for subjective relation, and first video, one version is normal video, 10 seconds, and then another version with the zoomed in face is one video, and another one is the same version, the same person, well, the same original video, but maybe or maybe not manipulated. So you need to guess. I don't know if you want to answer in chat or just to yourself, which version is real, which one is not. So first version is real or second version is real? First person or second person? So I'll show you first one with two, yeah, you'll see.
Hard work. I think it depends on how far you want to go. Talent can get you to the top, but you have to have the hard work. Hard work.
There's a zoom in version with the face, the same.
On how far you want to go. Talent can get you to the top, but you have to have the hard work.
And now the same video, but different person, well, appearing differently.
Hard work. I think it depends on how far you want to go. Talent can get you to the top, but you have to have the hard work.
And we zoom in.
I think it depends on how far you want to go. Talent can get you to the top, but you have to have the hard work.
So you see for yourself which one is real, which one is not. this is not easy, actually, if you think about it. Like, especially with this type of resolution, it's not synthetically generated images of 1,000 by 1,000 pixels where you can actually see details and things like that. There's a lot of blurring, a lot of compression going on, right? So this is a typically problematic situation that we are facing, right? Especially in social media, when you see if deepfake, some fake video appearing on a Twitter or something like that, on Facebook. So I can tell you that the first one is real and the second video is fake. And so because of this issue, we wanted to basically see how good people are into understanding which videos are fake, which are real, right? Which are deepfake, which are real videos. So we pre-selected manually. So basically, I pre-selected manually 120 videos from Facebook dataset. The reason is I had to do manually because they don't, the metadata about videos is like fake or not fake. So the only information we know. So I had to manually compare two videos and see what type of fake, like how hard it is to see, because some videos are very easy to spot that is fake and some videos are very hard. And I basically categorized this 60 fake videos into 5 categories from, you can call expert view of, in terms of which one is easy, from very easy to very difficult to spot if it's fake. So very difficult and difficult category is basically when I compare two videos, original and fake, side by side, and I couldn't see the difference, or I could slightly see the difference if it's videos playing. I can see some kind of artifact or some kind of mismatch in terms of some kind of thing that in difficult and very difficult, I couldn't see anything, but the person appears different at the same time. So, and we had about 60 subjects, naive subject in the sense that they didn't know what deepfakes are and they haven't watched, didn't know about them much before, and they're not researchers in this area, but they were researchers and admin staff of our institution, because we couldn't release these videos outside of the institution, so there's a legal issue, so we couldn't actually distribute it, like we couldn't do crowdsourcing, strictly speaking. But we did the crowdsourcing scenario in terms of that it's uncontrolled environment, people watched from their own computers on the web page. So they could replay several times. They could, we ask a question basically for each video whether it's fake, whether they think it's fake, deepfake, whether it's real, or they don't know. They're not sure. They're uncertain. So because they don't know, and so we had about 20 subjects per video, so 20 scores from each person. So from 20 different person per each video, right? So this is the example of these categories. So very easy on the left, where you can see. So also these rows, you can have a game to see which for each column, which row you think is the fake and which one is real. So for the first column is very obvious, so that's why it's very easy category. When you see like it's kind of a very distortion is very obvious and it looks ugly often. It's kind of haunting you, right? It's like a horror movie in a sense. There are such videos, and there are a lot of aberrations when you have this algorithm generated deep learning networks using like GANs using GANs generating these videos. They can appear very bad and very suddenly very ugly. That can happen sometimes. So, but yeah. So the next slide, I will show you which ones are actually fake. So there's in the red square, those are actual fake. And for example, easy category, why it's easy, you can see there's this column, the eyeglasses, they have no support, no handle on the glasses. That's why in the video it's kind of obvious that some attributes are missing. So these issues are also kind of I would say normal for synthetic generated images and videos when you have no semantic information, right? So like that glasses should have a handle, or the earrings mismatch, or there are some issues that something is hanging in the air. So that can, or like eyes colors mismatch too much. I mean, of course in reality it can happen, but it's a rare case, but here it's quite often can happen. So but very difficult are hard to see actually, especially if you don't compare it to each other. So this is just the details of the subjective evaluation, and the basically to show that we had a scientific approach in terms of evaluating. We have experience in this area, so we have a statistical analysis done, and we also create crowdsourcing, proper crowdsourcing evaluation, so you to record like a time spent on each, and also ask certain questions to see if person is paying attention and things like that. But we didn't record any personal information, of course, including no gender, no age. We didn't know, because this is like we preserve privacy of people who are participating, so we didn't have that recording. But we recorded timing and basically mostly, and how many times they replay the video and things like that. So, and we also perform another test, which basically showed that deepfake categories are significantly different in terms of how people perceive them. So here's the main result of subjective evaluation. So each column represents a fake category from very easy to very difficult, and original videos which are not manipulated. And the blue means how many people were certain and correct. So when they answered this is fake or not. How many were certain and incorrect means they said it's fake, but it was not fake, or said that's real, it was not real. And uncertain is the yellow. So orange is certain incorrect, and uncertain is yellow, right? And uncertain means, as they say, I don't know. So there are several kind of conclusions we can draw right away. So the main problem, I would say, that a lot of people, so uncertainty level is very low. So very few people said they're uncertain. So very few people say I don't know when they watch videos, even though this video is about detecting fake from no. So they knew what they're doing, right? So they already were biased in terms of evaluation. So it's not like they're a person who is browsing a social network that is unsuspected, right? But here they knew that this is their goal. And still, they were always very certain. And when the category is very difficult, when the video is very difficult to see if it's fake or not, they were very certain that that's, let's say, very difficult deepfake was not fake, but it was fake. So that's a problem in terms of that people are, they don't want to be unsure, right? And that's an issue that should demonstrate this result, that deepfakes, when they're good quality, they can fool people, seriously fool people. Like only 25% were right for a very difficult category. So the scores, scores is the percentage of correct. So it's percentage of correct answers per video, right? So averaged per category. So per video you have 20 answers, and the percentage of correct one is the score, and it's averaged across all videos in this category. So 12 for each difficult, 12 for each fake category, and 60 in the original category. So yeah, so for the original they were better, because, but you know, if you most of the time say it's real, that's what seems to be the case here. So the majority of the time people were saying it's real, except for very easy category and easy categories. So, but for the rest, they were saying whatever they think it's believable, they say it's real, right? So they were wrong for the fake ones, but they were real, correct most of the time for original videos. So this is kind of the way people perceive these videos. So this is just shows the confidence interval. So it's the same. So it's not mean scores, but median scores with the confidence intervals to show that there are overlapping confidence intervals between different categories, but of fake. But still, you can have very different, like very difficult categories, very different from moderate and easy categories, because even confidence intervals don't overlap. So it means we had a good idea. I mean, I had a good idea of selecting the categories, right? Assigning videos in different categories. This is for each video and each category is a score. So this distribution here. So you see that not like only for very easy categories, everything was very clear. But for others, the videos were ranging. Sometimes some videos were easily spotted, some are not, even though but you know, for very difficult category, very few videos were actually correctly detected as fake, actually. And the original will range all of that. So it's sorted by the score here. So this is the basically main result for subjective test. And then we thought, okay, let's see for the same videos. Let's see how algorithms that are kind of baseline, I would say, algorithms at this point would perform. This is just to compare. It's a bit this comparison, I would say, a bit how to say, we are pushing it a bit, right? So because the way we did it is like we pretend, like we assume that the system, the deepfake detection system, was pre-trained on some data, So we assume like a very practical scenario without any tuning. It's pretending on some data, and then we use it in some test environment, in a totally new, environment and videos, right? So in this case, we use exception-based model and efficient net variant before based model. That exception is a very popular baseline appearing in Face Forensic ++ dataset paper. That's what they were using, the authors of the dataset. They were using this exception network to show that it performs quite well, actually, when it trained and tested on the same dataset. And efficient net was popular in this Facebook challenge. So that's why we took this model as well. So just the two baselines. And we've been trained on Google and CelebDF datasets separately on training set of those datasets. The Google is the one that is actually subset of Face Forensic ++ dataset. And we computed as a metric, we have several metrics, but I mean, so one of the most popular ones, area under the curve of ROC curve. When these models are trained on the same dataset and tested on the same dataset, so test set, but the same original dataset, the area under the curve was 100%. So they're very good on this dataset, like on Google or CelebDF. And then we use these systems to see how they perform the same 120 videos that we use in subject evaluation, right? We also had the false positive rate chosen a threshold on the set of each dataset of those Google or CelebDF datasets. False positive rate is so we make sure that not more than 10% of fake videos will be considered as falsely detected as real. In this case, this is for the other metric, not for area under the curve. So this is basically yes, for the this is basically the using this threshold, and for FPR is 10% on depth set. We select the threshold to have this binary score of whether the video is fake or not, right? So if it's above threshold, then it's fake. Or other way around, actually. If the above threshold is real, and if it's below threshold is fake. So it's nearer to 0 is fake, it's nearer to 1 is real. So this is basically the criteria. We have to have a binary system like a human. We can try to simulate a human scenario when the person say fake or not. But we don't have this uncertainty here, right? So we just have a sure answer. And so here are the results. So we have efficient net in the top row trained on different dataset, either Google or CelebDF, and exception trained either on Google or CelebDF on the bottom row. And so what it tells us, so if you look at the efficient net trained on Google results, it shows that basically, for example, the very easy category that is very easy for humans, it performs the worst on this category. So in the sense that the blue bar, so it's the same thing, blue bar is correct and the orange is incorrect. And it was incorrect, like it correctly detect easy, but not incorrectly detecting very easy. The originals were kind of similar for both systems trained on Google dataset, but on the CelebDF, because of threshold selection on that set, I guess it was overfitting a lot, and basically it was most of the videos probably were above threshold. The threshold was very low, and therefore everything was original. And of course, for the fake ones, it was selecting incorrect results. So this is basically what it demonstrates, that that systems, algorithms just thrown blindly. They don't generalize on a new sets of videos, fake or real, right? So they are on different data set, because the base generalization is a big problem. And depending on the training set that you use to train your models, they will perform somewhat okay or completely wrong, right? So in this case, when Google dataset pre-trained, maybe these videos are a bit similar to what Facebook dataset had compared to CelebDF, because CelebDF has used YouTube videos, the resolution was very different, and Google has HD videos the same as Facebook. Maybe there is some kind of correlation there, and model could detect better the Facebook-based videos here. So if we plot all videos, all the ROC curve for all algorithm and subjective tests, which is not really like subjective scores are not the same as the algorithm scores, right? So it's not really correct to plot them together on the graph, but this for illustration purposes, I would say, just to compare roughly, because they're kind of observing the same videos. We can see that subjective scores, the way we compute them, I mean, using subjective scores, the humans are better overall, because the curve is the violet curve is about, it has a area under the curve 87%, and it's the most closest to the left top corner, and the algorithms are kind of similar. Of course, I mean, the threshold. So although the curves are very similar, but the selection threshold also kind of in the binary situation and the practical situation, it actually affects a lot, right? Because even though the curves of all this, whether trained on SlapDF or Google, they're all close to each other. In this practical scenario, with this threshold chosen threshold like this, we have very different results, right? This is important to understand this as well. I have a question. Sorry, how did you define those 5 categories of difficulty? Yes. So as I mentioned, I defined 5 categories of difficulty using my own observation. So we call it expert selection, right? So using expert, I pre-selected these categories. Very easy is the one that's super obvious is very ugly. Easy is obvious. If you watch a video, you see some obvious artifacts or some obvious missing things. Moderate, you see, but if you look closely, difficult, it's like really difficult to spot. There are small things like the teeth blurry or some kind of strange, a little bit, if you maybe motion blur from frame to frame, there is an inconsistency, but very difficult. I couldn't see any difference between videos, real or in terms of quality. I couldn't see any difference, even when I compared the original with a fake. But I see that the people are different. So this was the way they selected this category, right? So, and the results, subjective results, show that this selection was kind of correct, because it reflects the difficulty level that humans had with the videos. But of course, it doesn't. So this is what one of the conclusions that we draw, that algorithms do not perform the same way. They don't have the same vision system, I mean, as human vision system, right? So they are not humans. We should never forget that. Although we do actually, and if you read news, sometimes you think that machines are the same as humans. They're not. So this is important to also remember that. So this type of results with algorithms demonstrate the lack of generalization of deep learning networks to a new and unseen data, right? So this issue is important for this specific type of problems like anomaly detection, what we are having here, right? Anti-spoofing, anomaly detection, this attack detection in terms of fake videos, because the other domains like face recognition, we can argue, one can argue, speculate, let's say, that this problem of face recognition was solved, achieving very high accuracy, because basically we created the models overfit on the whole world, right? Or overfit on whole humans, roughly. Let's make it very simple, right? So, if you overfit on the whole world, we throw so much data from all the people that we have collected, and the bigger, large network architectures, we can actually have a very accurate result, because if it's in a training set, of course, it will be accurately detected, right? So if we have a large enough architecture, it absorbs all the differences between people. But in this type of problems, like anomaly detection, you cannot do that. You cannot solve it by throwing data at it, because the data can change, because these attacks can change, evolve through time. So we can assume that we always will have a new types of deepfakes generated in the future that do not look the same way, the same as the one that we use in training. So therefore, this generalization is a very big issue, and we have to deal with it. We have to make sure that model generalizes to other types of deepfakes and other type of data well. And that's an issue that probably will never be solved completely, but which is good for us, right? We can always have a salary, which is nice to, our kids will never be hungry, which I'm happy for, to be honest. In this case, in this talk, I will describe a couple of methods that we kind of come up to improve generalization. We didn't solve the problem, but we say we made a step into the right direction, right? And there are other methods, other researchers have, of course, but I'm not going to talk about everybody else. So for the lack of time as well. So this is published. The reference is the bottom, and I will show example using exception model only as a baseline, because otherwise too many graphs and too many examples. So the idea is that in all these experiments, all these results, we fix the model, and we only change we fix the parameters like batch sizes, learning rates, the classifier, like and all the types of training tricks and only change the actual approach that we're trying to demonstrate that improves generalization, right? So we only change one parameter to actually have a fair comparison. So we considered three approaches. So one we should call extreme data augmentation, or like data farming, which is kind of augmenting data, because we show that data augmentation improves generalization in general. All the algorithms, like face recognition, is using that as well everywhere, right? So like changing your compression, changing, flipping the image, changing brightness and contrast, and things like a trick to increase the variability of your data, original data. So also we show that if you tune the model on a new data set, right? It's a little bit of examples of new data set, you will improve generalization as well. So it will start performing that new data set much better than it was originally without tuning, which is kind of obvious. Also we showed which layers of model is better to tune, first ones or last ones. And also talk about attribution. So if you train for attribution but test as binary, then you can also improve generalization. So there are many evaluation metrics here. So at the area under the curve I mentioned, so I will probably explain them while I present the results. There are two important scenarios that we evaluate. Is the same database, when you train and test on the same database, which usually many models perform very well. But if you try to improve generalization, you may degrade the performance of the same data set, right? Trying to improve process-based scenario when you train on one set and test on completely unknown data set. So we're not only changing attacks in this case, but we are changing the whole set, including original videos, because they play a big role as well. So if you train on face forensics, we will test it on Google, let's say, because they both methods and the original data is very different. So when I said augmentation, extreme augmentation, data farming, we can do either just faces as they are. We don't do anything. We just train them for real or fake faces. We just crop the faces and train the model on that, like exception model, binary classifier. We can augment faces using these standard things like flipping and changing the contrast and compression and things like that. Or what we suggest is for real faces to also crop for half of the training, for half of the images in the training set. What we did, we cropped background. So like random patches of basically random patches from the video, from the frame background, non-face random patches. So like half of the real faces in the half the real images in the training set for faces and half background patches. And in the deepfake category were only faces, so deepfake faces. So the reason was, the logic was to push the model to generalize not just on faces, not to overfit on faces themselves and see the difference between faces fake or not, but to see the difference between deepfake distortion that deepfakes bring, like blurriness, additional kind of artifacts, and the real image in general, not just face. So hoping that it will push to improve generalization. So this example of many experiments we did, in the paper, you can see that this is one example that illustrates that if you use augmentation with patches, this data farming, it will push the curve towards the left top corner more. So of course, there's also a difference here. So if you train the model on the same data set and test on the same data set, we see that all this they are all in the corner. They are all zero, like they're always 100% accuracy, right? So it's not 100% accuracy. It's like a middle section of this list of models, right? So it's when trained on CelebDF, and it's this whole thing is tested on CelebDF, test set of CelebDF, right? And if we train on Google and Mobio, so Mobio is biased, but Google is face forensic subset, we see that the overall performance degrades a lot. So testing on CLabDF degrades the performance a lot. So it's not 100 accuracy under the area under the curve anymore. 100%, not 100%. Is 86 at best, 88 actually. Yeah. So, but if we include data augmentation, extremely, it changes from orange line. It pushes to, or like from blue line push to green line, right? So from gray line to this kind of yellowish green line. Overall, the area under the curve increases in values, not by a lot, by several percent points, but you can improve your generalization on completely new data set. So it's not a very groundbreaking technique, but it's just to demonstrate that this type of steps in accumulation, it may improve more, right? And for the tuning, this is kind of obvious, but in the paper you can see more details about it. But basically, we say that if you tune on several examples, let's say we take like 100 frames of new data. If you have access to data on a new on a test place, like you have a system that pre-trained on some data set, and then you want to deploy. And if you will know your deployment environment and the example of videos you can have, an example of fakes that you may have, you can tune the model by tuning better to tune first layer of the model compared to last layer of the model. It generalizes better on a new data set, on a full new data set, without a large degradation on the original one as well. So this is just a kind of it's basically was just to demonstrate on the large sets of experiments between different data sets, different pairs. So on average, that improves. That's what we showed. So I would suggest to have a lot of augmentation as much as possible, and also, if possible, tuning, or few short learning, whatever the name you can use. So another interesting idea, which is very promising, is if we train for attribution. So well, we need additional information about deepfakes here. For that, it's not a binary classifier anymore. So we basically we try to we assume that we know the types of deepfakes that exist in the training set. So for that case, for example, we cannot use Facebook dataset because there's only two labels. There's only one label, basically, false or like fake or not fake. So we don't know the types of deepfakes. But for Face Forensic++, its extensions, and also CLabDF, we know the types of deepfake would use. Like CLabDF was consistently one deepfake, so we treat it as a one category deepfake, right? And then, for instance, there are 5 categories, and then plus Hi-Fi Face 1 and Deep Forensic has 2 different fakes, different types of deepfakes. So if we know this information, we can basically classify. So we try to create not a binary classifier anymore, but we try to create like a 10-class classifier. In this case, nine classes which are fake and 1 class is real. But then when we test this classifier, we train it as a 10-class classifier, but when we test we test as a binary classifier. So the reasoning is that by training as for attribution as a 10-class classifier, we model the space of deepfakes better, so that when we test it as binary, whatever during test sample, if classifier says it's one of the fakes, we say it's deepfake, and if it's real, we say real, right? So it's become binary. So in this case, we will have a better results compared to just a normal binary classifier, because binary classifier will overfit on some type of deepfakes, which which will overshadow everybody else, and then you will have an issue. So the way we do it, we combine these data sets, and we combine training set of the set in one meta training set, right? So with 9 categories of fakes and 1 real, combining all real of Face Forensic and CLabDF in 1 real set, and combining all deepfakes in different categories of deepfakes. So like it's a basically meta set of CLabDF, Hi-Fi Face, Deep Forensic, and Face Forensic++. So and then we test on each of these test subsets, like Face Forensic test subset, Hi-Fi, Deep Forensic, and CLabDF test subset. This is like same database scenario. And we have also cross-database testing on completely different full data sets from Google, Mobio, and other deepfake timid as well. And we also extended this idea of attribution to using normal attribution with just 10 with a dense layer at the end with 10 neurons and normal cross entropy loss, to training with triplet loss and arc phase loss, which is triplet loss is a Euclidean distance basically loss that try to separate in different, trying to separate each category in like as far as possible from each other in Euclidean space. And arc phase loss is trying the same thing, but in angular space. So in angular space to try to put them in each in a different cone in a sphere, right? And we had modification of to push the smaller margin for deepfakes, so they kind of to increase the margin for the real. So they are basically, because the real videos, they have a larger space overall. So we basically increase the margin for the real samples to have a larger space. So like kind of accommodate the to reflect the imbalance between real data and fake data in the training, right? So this is what we propose for the arc phase modification. Yeah.
I set up the webinar for 1 hour. So
yeah, I'm almost finished there. Okay.
Just for your information.
Okay, so I will just show the examples here. So so this table is not important. Okay, I'll instrument and so finish. So in this table, basically the same case scenario. So the point here is for the binary approach, the binary classifiers overfit on CelebDF data because it's the largest set all of these 3 data sets, and it shows like a better error, so smaller error, like HTR is 13% here, which is kind of high error rate, and the 50% on others, that means it was random in a sense. So you can see that it performed very badly on each of the subsets here, which is not dominating the training set. But attribution and all the 3 attribution types, they performed quite well, and especially for the triplet loss, arc phase kind of loss, they generalized relatively well on all of the subsets here. So to demonstrate, we have these knee plots to show you that how attribution. So the also the positive part of this attribution training is not just you have fake real distinction, but also you can categorize your test sample into different types of categories, which like how close, which type of deepfake that was in my training set, this test sample look like, which one is the closest? It looks like mostly like what? So this is kind of helps you to interpret, kind of give you more information about your test sample. So this is the normal attribution, and this is the angle. So they all like at a petal and a leaf because they all pushed into angle, right? So this is knee plots projections just for illustration purposes. This orange one is the large set of deepfakes from CelebDF, and the blue one is the real here. And this is the Euclidean-based, triplet loss training because it separates in the different clouds in the space, right? So as further away from each other as possible. So when you they take this model that I just did, all these models that I just demonstrate, and test them on completely new data sets, like in this case, DFMobile, Google Deepfake Timid, the performance, of course, is not the same as the same. So, I mean, the performance degrades a lot because it's totally new data. But if you compare attribution-based method with binary, they are not random, right? So they are lower than they're much better. The error rate is lower than random. So in this case, we had a 50% error rate for the binary classifier, but about 30% error rate, which is high actually. It's still very high, but it's not 50%. So it's really improves the generalization. So by combining different methods that improve generalization, you may push it a bit lower, depending on your, of course, test data set and how similar it is to original set that you're training on. So this is just to, and of course, if you do attribution as well and to show this, new set. So this is case that we test on DFMobile, totally new data sets, 45,000 images, videos. So it's a lot, and you can see the blobs. And I mean, the results are not as pretty as the like for angular face. You don't see the petals anymore, right? Because there is still overfitting. But you still can have some kind of information with this, giving taking account the error rate. That is 30%, you can still have some kind of, I would say, the guess about what type of video it looks like the most, right? This deepfake. So the most dominant ones are the green and the violet color, so that DFMobile fakes look more like the face shifter and deep fakes from face forensics, which is kind of, I would say, true. So the same here. This is like triple law. So we can also, so we apply the same attribution algorithm, one of these attribution algorithms on the subjective test from videos from our subjective experiments. And this is the purple line at the bottom. So it's actually performed worse than the binary ones that we used there. And for some reason on this subjective test. And yeah, this is to compare with subjective scores as well. So yeah, also I should talk about that if you fuse subjective scores with the machine scores, with the algorithm scores, you can improve the overall accuracy. So if you have, this is the accuracy for machine algorithm only, and then you fuse with subjective scores, you have improvement. So maybe hybrid solutions will be some kind of answer to the problem as well. So in conclusion, so deepfake spoof confuse all humans and vision, human vision and machine vision, but in different ways. So that's important to not say that algorithms are same like humans, the way they perceive deepfakes or actually any media, I would say. So it kind of maybe a more broad problem, broad understanding that we should not attribute human qualities to machines, to robots. And algorithms generalize badly, but this is a known problem and it's far from being solved in this case. Okay, so that's it. I conclude. So if you have questions, please.
Thank you very much, Pavel. Perfect on time and very exciting topic. It's also a little bit scary. I don't know what's going to happen in a couple of years. We cannot even distinguish what is, fake and what is real.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the attendees. If there are any questions, they can just, write it down on the chat box or
Q&A
raise
here.
their hand. What is the next step, Pavel? What do you see in the upcoming years? Are you going to keep doing this research for a couple of years, or?
Yeah, well, we are thinking to, well, I would like to do a very good audiovisual deepfakes, but it's very hard. So when you have everything generated, audio that simulates human, like that specific target human and vision, but you need also to make sure that you have lip syncing issue solved, and this is actually looks realistic. And also, I'm a bit on edge with in terms of ethical thing, because the best models to generate deepfakes these days are coming from communities that they're doing pornographic content for money, which is very bad. So this Tom Cruise video that I was showing in the beginning, this most convincing one, actually it's a model that's coming from these people. I think it's kind of a PR for them, to be honest, that they have like a celebrity-based model that is not, there's no pornographic material there to training or testing. They don't do that, but they also have the separate, they have like a 2 parts that for pornographic content, and they sell these videos for money to people. So you can actually kind of like destroy image of your ex-girlfriend or stuff like that, which is very, very, very bad. So there is looking issues, like the best models are from this community, but can you use it in research or not? This is kind of an interesting issue here.
It's really indeed a serious problem for the society. But I also have a question, if you don't mind, because, watermarking and fingerprinting group in signal processing, it was very easy to detect if a picture frame was manipulated.
Yeah.
Some kind of structure. And if you manipulate even a small amount of pixels, it could be detected. So this kind of automated system, can they actually detect this kind of alterations, or is it?
Yeah, I would say, well, it depends, right? I mean, these forensic approaches, they don't perform very well on the compression and double compression, all the different manipulations that applies to the whole thing. So that's the issue, is like either you do this watermarking or these forensic approaches on the camera, so like on the source, and then you can recover all the manipulations very easily. But if you don't do it on the source, which is very rarely done actually in reality, then you have a problem there. Because people recompress and distort and crop and all sorts of manipulations besides the deepfakes itself. So because people are not kind of stupid, they do deepfake manipulation, but also everything else around it. And that it kind of confuses the forensic approaches, the classical ones at least. So yeah, in that case, it's a bit of an issue there. Although in a kind of lab environment, of course, they can perform very well.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of points, aspects to think about these deepfakes, but I'm a little bit worried about the future deployment. There are goods, there are bads, as you suggested. It can be very beneficial in education, actually.
Education, yeah.
Well, with this, I would like to wrap it up here.
Somebody asked a question. Wait, in the chat. I have a question regarding audio-only deepfakes. Do you think they pose a real-world issue? Yeah. So audio-only deepfakes. Well, I don't like the name audio deepfakes because it's kind of hot name. That's why people not to say audio deepfakes, but they existed for a long time. Like it's a text-to-speech and voice conversion. When you convert one voice to another, it's been around for much longer than actual visual deepfake that appeared relatively recently, like 4 years ago. So the audio deepfakes, it's a different. I mean, I use also it's traditional anti-spoofing methods, right? So audio anti-spoofing is to detect fake audio in general. Like replay is more replay attack when you play back the voice of a person to a system, to a microphone later. It's kind of more probably more damaging. But yes, when you completely synthesize a new audio. Yeah, it's damaging, but I say that audio is easier to detect, I would say. But still, generalization issue, of course, applies as well. So as these challenges, SV spoof challenges show that when they have people very well detect on the known test set, but on unknown test set, they fail very quickly when they use especially deep learning models. But yeah, I mean, I would say that both big issue, especially if you have audio visual fake, which I would like to generate like a realistic one. That would be something like both synthetic. So yeah, so this is the basically kind of maybe answer.
Well, I don't know what will happen in 2 minutes, but maybe it will be terminated, but there's a question in the Q&A part, if you see that.
Yeah, if those 5 difficulty are based on the human perception expert, have you tried to define difficulty based on the performance of neural algorithm and see how a human perform? No, I did not, which is an interesting idea. Yes, so that's like, yeah, go back, right? So you detect, you categorize based on new machine learning, whatever chosen algorithm, and then you see whatever is easy or not easy, you classify into the categories and see how humans. Yeah, it's another direction that it would be interesting to check. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, another interesting to check what in subjective simulation, if you continue that, is like what parts of face of something, how human perform in terms of what did they think, why this is fake and why it's not, like more detailed understanding of what is fake, what is not in terms of human vision. This is not very well understood yet as well. Yeah.
Great.
So I think we are kind of done. Huh?
We are done. Thank you very much for your time, for your really nice talk on this topic. For our attendees, thank you very much for being here. For your information, our next talk will be June 29th, same hour. And the speaker will be Richard Heusdens from Netherlands Defense Academy, talking about privacy preserving distributed optimization. You will get invitations using the same channels again, but I must say this went pretty much smooth, Pavel. No problems, no technical problems. And we had a lot of attendees. So
thank you.
Everyone, thank you very much. And I will see you next time.
Thank you guys. Okay. See you.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.